On a crowded night, in a pool of light stands the singer. Then the band kicks in and the beat is strong and the room belongs to the singer. All the people turn to hear his sad refrain and catch the cry of pain that's in his song. And in his haunted face and in his searching eyes there is a sign that something's wrong. Now the eager crowd hangs on every word, but the sounds are slurred by the singer. And the people feel every aching part of the broken heart of the singer. Still his song goes on about a love he knew that seemed so sure, so true, but turned out wrong. And in the tears he shows, nobody really knows, is he the singer or the song? Is he the singer or the song? Hello, George Bob, I'm Alan Cumming, I'm a legal immigrant. As this sad song ends, he hits the final note. It catches in his throat, but comes out strong. And as he bows and goes, nobody really knows, is he the singer or the song? Is he the singer or the song? La 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 la. Hey, old friends, are you okay? Old friends, what do you say? Old friends, are we or are we unique? Time goes by, everything else keeps changing. You and I, we get continued next week. Most friends fade or they don't make the grade. New ones are quickly made and in a pinch sure they'll do. But us old friends, what's to discuss, old friends? Here's to us, was like us, damn few. So old friends, start me off slow. Old friends, start from hello. Old friends, I want the when, where and how. Old friends do tend to become old habits. Never knew how much I missed you to me. Most friends fade or they don't make the grade. New ones are quickly made, some of them worth something too. But us old friends, what's to discuss, old friends? Here's to us, was like us, damn few. Not a day goes by, not a single day, but just somewhere a part of my life. And it looks like you'll stay as the days go by. I keep thinking, when will it end? Where's the day I'll have started forgetting? But I just go on thinking and fretting and cursing and crying and turning and reaching and waking and dying. And no, not a day goes by, not a blessed day, but you're still somewhere part of my life. And you won't go away, so there's hell to pay. And until I die, I'll die day after day after day after day after day after day after day, till the days go by, till the days go by, till the days about you. A coffee cup, I think about you. I want you so, it's like I'm losing my mind. The morning ends, I think about you. I talk to friends and think about you. And do they know that I'm losing my mind? All afternoon doing every little chore. The thought of you stays bright. Sometimes I stand in the middle of the floor, not going left, not going right. I dim the lights and think about you. Spend sleepless nights to think about you. You said you loved me, or were you just being kind? Or am I losing my mind? I want you so, it's like I'm losing my mind. And do they know that I'm losing my mind? All afternoon doing every little chore. The thought of you stays bright. Sometimes I stand in the middle of the floor, not going left, not going right. I dim the light and think about you. Spend sleepless nights to think about you. You said you loved me, or were you just being kind? Or am I losing my mind? Am I the singer or the Thank you very much. Hello, Josh Bob. I'm Alan Cumming. I'm a proud Scottish American, and I'm here to remind you what a great and magical country America can be, but how much greater and magical it is because of the people who've immigrated here and made it their homes. And I'm joined in that endeavour by the four beauties you see on the stage with me. Please give them a big welcome. First of all, on trumpet, an Indian American, Riley Mulherkar. Over here on guitar and drums, and sometimes at the same time, a new immigrant, a new citizen of this country, an English American. Please welcome Chris Jago. Over here, the only self-defining woman on the stage tonight, an Ashkenazi, Sephardic, British, Jewish American, the sparkling and wonderful Eleanor Norton. That's a whole lot of Jew right there. That's a triple decker of Jew in a gorgeous bun. With pickles. And over here, the musical... Schmear, did you say? Eleanor, do you have any schmear? Schmear. in your bun. There's smear too. Over here, on the musical director, composer, you're going to be hearing one of his beautiful songs later. Arranger of all these songs, pianist, backing vocalist, just general clever dick. An American of northern British descent, Lance Howard! So that first little medley, the kids call it a mashup, was the first song was called "The Singer," and that was it's by Walter Marks. And I sang that song because Liza Minnelli told me I had to. Because I was visiting Liza last year and I was showing her Spotify on my phone, and she'd never seen it before. And of course, loads of her albums are on Spotify. So we played this game. She went, "You tell me the title of the song, I'll sing a few bars." I was like, all right. Took hours. Because she's, a decades-long recording artist. Anyway, when we got to The Singer, she went, "You have got to sing this song." So I'm only doing what Liza told me. And then the other three parts of that little mashup were all by Stephen Sondheim. So Walter Marks and Stephen Sondheim are both Jewish Americans, and the Jewish faith is very well represented in tonight's show, as you would expect from a culture that has music and storytelling at its very core. I had a funny interaction with Stephen Sondheim a few years ago because I did this workshop version of his show Company. And a workshop thing is like when you sort of do it for a week or 2 weeks, see if you want to take it on any further and make it a full production. So I did this workshop, and it was kind of contentious because we changed the sexuality of the central character, Bobby, and made him gay. And also a lot of the couples who sort of, rotate around Bobby in the story, their genders were changed as well. Suffice to say, I ended up playing the Elaine Stritch role, naturally. Which is why, when I did my last show at Joe's Pub, I closed the show rather audaciously by singing Ladies Who Lunch. Anyway, so we did this workshop. I'll drink to that. So we did this workshop, and on the Friday of the last day, you kind of do a little presentation. You have your music stands and everything, and in the audience was John Tiffany, the director, and Stephen Sondheim, and a gaggle of his lawyers around him. And so we did this workshop. Finished it, company. And we're all like this, going, wonder what happens now. And we looked over, Stephen Sondheim is like this. Like, totally weeping. And we're all like, oh my God. And we look over and he goes, "You made me cry." And then he went, "But I cry at anything." Anyway, Stephen Sondheim, Walter Marks, two great Jewish Americans. Full disclosure, I'm not a Jew. I just played one on TV for many years. Yes, you may have seen me in The Good Wife playing a Jewish person, Eli Gold in The Good Wife. And it's interesting though because, if you look like me, it's not that big a challenge to play a Jewish person, right? But what was more challenging was several points, characteristics of this person that I inhabited for like 7 years. And in the second season especially, it started to get really weird because Eli, the character I played, kept mentioning, and other people kept talking about it, that he hadn't had sex for so long. Like, he kept saying, it's been like a year and a half. I was like, no, it's about 2 years now. And I was like, I'm a pretty good actor, but I don't know that I understand how to... I haven't not had sex for 2 years since I was like 13. So, let's not go there. No, it's fine. It's lovely. Anyway, I started to spiral a bit because I thought, well, I know I'm more interested in sex than acting, but maybe am I better at sex than acting? Because I don't know if I can do this, which is a question you will never know the answer to, ladies and gentlemen. Unless, of course, you meet someone who has both had sex with me and acted with me, but that's only, a few dozen, 100 people, so... Anyway, so I expressed these qualms to the producers and the writers of the show. And careful what you wish for, because a couple of weeks later onto the set came the gorgeous Parker Posey to play Eli's ex-wife, and we rekindled our fire. And then a couple of weeks after that, this political rival and also love interest for Eli appeared, played by Amy Sedaris. Now, Parker and Amy are both absolute darlings. I love them very much, both genius actors. But I said, careful what you wish for, because they're both mad as fucking cheese. And doing sexy scenes with them was a challenge. And there was one scene where Amy and I were being all seductive, and she had to squirt whipped cream on my fingers, and then she put her fingers in my mouth. She bit me so hard. I had a big bruise on one of my nails. Yes. Amy bit my finger. Oh, YouTube reference, here we are. Anyway, and then the next season, I had this very nice, tender romance with the actress America Ferrera, who came into the show to play a character called Natalie Flores. Now, interestingly, considering the title of this show, Natalie Flores was a dreamer. You know, she was brought to this country by her undocumented parents. And it was really interesting for me to sort of find out more about the plight of the dreamers. And we've seen of late how, one other group of would-be immigrants are being used as political pawns, but the dreamers have been used as political pawns in this country for a very long time. And even this week, yet again, Congress failed to pass legislation that would help them. So I just hope these people, there's nearly 1 million of them, these poor people who are like in this state of flux about they need to get the citizenship they deserve very, very soon. Now, like Natalie Flores, that character, I came to this country via a group of people that our present president would consider criminals. In her case, it was her Mexican parents. In my case, it was Hollywood film producers. And there's an interesting statistic that actually it's much more likely that Hollywood producers will commit crimes than Mexican people. So my solution is, let's build let's build a wall around Beverly Hills. Because they would like it. They like gated communities. It's practically one big gated community. And they would pay for it. So I became a citizen 10 years ago. And thanks. Yes. And I did so because, I'd had green cards for a while. And with a green card, you can do practically everything a citizen can do. You can buy houses, you can pay taxes, you can abuse minorities. You just can't vote. That's the only thing you can't do. So I'm not someone who keeps his political opinion to himself. So I thought I should, put my money where my mouth was and become a citizen and take part in the political process. So I did. And I became a citizen 4 days after Obama was elected the first time. And it was a magical time because, regardless of your political leanings, that time in our history was a great time of positivity and hope and change. It was a really incredible time to become a citizen of this country. And at my naturalization ceremony, which I think is a bad word to use, I just think let's not use that, because naturalization sort of smacks of anyone who's not American is unnatural. And that could be the root of many of our problems, I think. But at my naturalization ceremony, it was really lovely. And what they do is they say in alphabetical order all the different countries of the people who are going to be made citizens. So it was like Albania, 2 people stood up. Belgium, 5 people stood up. Chile, 8 people stood up. The Dominican Republic, a lot of people stood up. And then it got to me, Scotland. I'm the only one there, Scottish. But what was funny was because everyone had seen me, afterwards, there's sort of a step and repeat thing with the American flag where you're supposed to go and get your first photo as an American citizen. Nobody gave a fuck about that. They all wanted the photo with me. And so I now know what the Statue of Liberty feels like, because seriously, I was like, oh yes, are you poor? Come here. Are you a huddled mass? Yes, come on. Yes, welcome to my country. Right from the start, you're a thief. You stole my heart. And I, your willing victim, I let you see the parts of me that weren't all that pretty, and with every touch you fixed them. But you've been talking in your sleep, things you never say to me. Tell me if you've had enough of our love, Just give me a reason, just a little bit's enough. Just a second, we're not broken, just bent. And we can learn to love again, it's in the stars. It's still written in the scars on our hearts. We're not broken, just bent. And we can learn to love again. And I'm sorry, I don't understand where all of this is coming from. I thought that we were fine. My head is running wild again. I know that we have everything, and it's all in my mind. But you've been having real bad dreams. You used to lie so close to me. There's nothing more than empty sheets between our love, our love, our love. Just give me a reason, just a little bit's enough. Just a second, we're not broken, just bent. And we can learn to love again. I never stopped, it's still written in the skies of my heart. We're not broken, just bent. And we can learn to love again. I'll fix it for us. Yes, our love's enough. You're holding it in. No, nothing is as bad as it seems. Falling in love again. Never wanted to. What am I to do? Can't help it. Love's always been my game. Play it how I may. I was made that way. Can't help it. They cluster to me like moths around a flame. And if their wings burn, I know I'm not to blame. Falling in love again, never wanted to. What am I to do? Can't help it. Just give me a reason, just a little bit's enough. Just a second, we're not broken, just bent. And we can learn to love again, it's in the stars. It's still written in the skies of my heart. We're not broken, just bent. And we can learn to love. Just give me a reason, just a little bit's enough. Just a second, we're not broken, just bent. And we can learn to love again. I never stopped, it's still written in the scars on our hearts. You're not broken, just bent. And we can learn to love again. Thanks so much. Oh. Thank you. So, that was two songs made famous by two amazing women, and I'm going to be singing a lot of songs by great women tonight. First of all, that was a song made famous by Pink, who defines herself as a German, Lithuanian, Irish, Dutch, Jewish American. And she wrote that with an Indian American and an American of German and Dutch descent. And then the second bit was Falling in Love Again, made famous by Marlene Dietrich, and she was a German immigrant, and that song was written by another German immigrant and a Polish immigrant. Do you see where I'm going with this? So, I've been kind of busy since I was last here at Joe's pub. Well, that was last night. I've not been busy at all since then. I was basically sat in a darkened room vomiting all day, but that's another story. No, so since I last did my last show here, I'm on this new TV show now called Instinct. Has anyone seen it? Oh, good. That's why we're getting a second season. So for those of you who haven't, it's a kind of an interesting thing for me. It's a cop show. I've never done a cop show before. And I play this character. He's kind of weird. He was like a fuddy-duddy professor, but he's a former CIA spy. And he's written this best-selling book about abnormal behavior. And he's also a former child musical prodigy. And he's like, he opens up a kind of whoop-ass sometimes. And he rides a motorcycle. And he's gay. He has a husband. It's the first ever network drama on American television to have a gay character as the lead. Which is good, but it's also terrible at the same time. I mean, I think WTF, but also bravo CBS. I mean, who knew that CBS was the most progressive network? Not me, and I've been on it for 10 years. Anyway, it's an interesting role because there's all those different facets, and there's many challenges because of that. But I think the biggest challenge for me is that I have to have a gun in it. And I don't like that. It does not sit lightly with me, especially in the current climate of gun violence that we are in America. Well, it's been ever since I came to this country, actually. But I don't have a gun. I never want to own a gun. I don't come from a gun culture. I think there's a huge need for gun reform in this country because of all the ridiculous violence. So me having a gun on TV is something that I take very seriously, and it doesn't sit easily with me. But I'm in a cop show, so I've kind of got to have a gun. But I think what I'm doing is, in my own little way, I'm kind of doing my bit for gun reform by sort of namby-pamby way I hold my gun in the show. Because we're always going into rooms like this, you know. And Bayana, who's my co-star in the show, she's about this height to me normally. And there was one time early on when we went into a room, we're like, you know, NYPD, kind of. And I looked across at her, and she's normally there, but she's towering above me. I thought, what the hell, have I fallen into a hole? And it was because my gun stance, I can't even do it in these trousers, was so wide. And the NYPD advisor guy came up to me and said, Alan, a word. Your gun stance is a little Broadway. Which hurt. It hurt, I have to say. So I think I'm doing my little bit in that way, you know, sort of sending out a subliminal message to America saying, you know, don't have a gun, you can kill people with jazz hands. The other thing I've done since I was here last is I've opened my own bar, Club Cumming on 6th Street between A and B. Thank you. And, you know, it's been a lovely thing. It used to be, I used to do these sort of pop-up parties, Club Cumming parties. Now I have an actual bar. And it's so great because I wanted to create a place that was a place where, you know, people of all ages, all genders, all sexualities could come together and be kind to each other and have fun and frolic and have drinks and be sexy and everything, but also feel safe and also to have a sense of community. And that has really happened. So it's been an amazing thing. And it's sort of a cabaret bar. We have different themes and different performances every night. And like on Monday, Lance does a night called Mondays in the Club with Lance, which is a play on the Stephen Sondheim show, Sunday in the Park with George. I can never get that right. But it's a great night. Everyone gets that. Lance, you know, plays the piano. People get up and sing. Lance plays the piano for like 8 hours straight. Well, there's nothing straight about it, let me tell you, but he plays the piano for a long, long time. And everyone gets up, and it's just really lovely. Sometimes people FaceTime in their singing as well, which is a marvellous feat of engineering. And also, sometimes you know, special guests come, and my favourite guests were, when it was still open, the cast of Cats came down to Club Cumming and danced the Jellicle fucking ball in the bar. And then just a couple of weeks ago, the lovely Vanessa Williams came along and sang some songs, showed us the colour of her wings. And it's such a great night. It really is beautiful and there's such a great sense of community. And then on Tuesdays, early on, we have a thing called Knit at Night. It's a knitting night. People just come and knit. And there's a hot little knitting teacher comes and shows you things. It's not a great earner for the bar, let me tell you. And people's not much drinking going on while they're, you know, pearl oneing. But it's a lovely thing to have this sort of, all these people who would not normally come to the bar come and find a sort of community. And then we have like a drawing class one night, Wednesdays is sort of comedy, Thursday, everything's different every night. And then later in the evenings, like tonight it's called House of Cumming, it's a big sort of fun and frolicky, sexy party. We'll be there later, I hope you come.
What's the address?
The address is 505 East 6th Street between A and B. Say Alan sent you. Anyway, so also there's a kind of a mantra at Club Cumming, you know, because it is anything could happen. And anything does happen. Like people sort of often just drop by and will say, oh, do you want to sing something? They go up and sing a song or whatever. It's great. So one night last year, I was walking over to Club Cumming. I had a late start for my TV show. So I thought, I'll have a nightcap at the bar. So I'm walking over and my friend Emma Stone calls me up and she goes, hey, are you going to Club Cumming tonight? I was like, yes, I'm on my way now. She goes, well, I'm with Billie Jean King. And because Emma played Billie Jean King in this film and I was in it as well. And we're all chums. And she goes, I'm with Billie Jean King. And we're going to see, we're watching Paul McCartney at the Barclays Centre. I was like, oh, great. She goes, I'm going to bring Billy over for a nightcap after the show. I was like, perfect. So I go to the bar and say, Billie Jean King and Emma Stone are coming. And they're like, all right. And then 20 minutes later, Emma calls me and goes, holy fucking shit, I'm bringing Paul McCartney too. So an SUV draws up outside Club Cumming, and it's sort of like a joke. Paul McCartney, Billie Jean King and Emma Stone walk into a bar. And everyone's pretending to be cool with, variety of successful attitudes. And we were chatting, we would get drinks, blah, blah, blah. It was kind of be cool. I'm chatting to Paul, who's an absolute darling. And it was one of those nights where there's a guy playing the piano and people are getting up and singing. And I said, hey, Paul, would you like to sing a song? He was like, no! I just sang for 4 hours at the Barclays Centre. I was like, all right, it was a yes or no question, And then he went, but I'll accompany you if you'd like. So Emma Stone and I got up on the stage and sang Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid, and Paul McCartney accompanied us on the harmonica. And talking of Part of Your World, I sing that song often at Club Cumming because it's one of those songs that everybody knows it, even if they don't want to admit they do. And I think it's an interesting thing in American culture. A lot of you have trouble admitting your love for things that you don't want to be perceived that you like. Do you see what I mean? It's when people want to go in and dance for it, they're a bit like, oh, is this cool? And certain songs that you know the fucking words for, but you're going, oh, what is it? Up where they walk. And so I have this, I'm on a campaign to make people have no shame about singing Disney princess songs. So anyway, I like that song and I sing it quite often at Club Cumming. And it's also really good. It gets everyone going and there's an audience participation element. You know that bit when they go, what's a fire and why is it? What's the word again? Everyone goes, burn. So one night I was singing it and I was on the stage and Mariano, one of our go-go boys, was with me because he was about to start dancing after I stopped singing. And I'm like this with him. And when I get to the bit when it's supposed to be burn, I give the microphone to him. And instead of saying burn, he goes, Mariano. Because he thought I meant to say his name, right, rather than... So now, at Club Cumming, whenever we sing that song, and there's 2 times in the song when everyone has to shout something, the entire bar just goes, Mariano! So we have made Mariano a star. No, he was a star already, believe me. Check out his Instagram. But seriously, I think of Club Cumming as my greatest artistic achievement. Because I wanted to create a spirit and a feeling and a sensibility, and I kind of put that out to the world that that's what I wanted this bar to be, and people got it, and they came and they manifested it, and I could not be prouder of that. Thank you. Oh, yes, and we have classical music too. Thanks, Les. Yes. Sometimes. Schubert. Swan Song. Perfect for my career. That was a joke. I fell in love with New York the second I saw it. From the plane, I was like, oh, I have to live here. And the first night I came here, it was for the premiere of this movie I was in called Emma, and the party was at the Boathouse in Central Park, and it was a magical night. I saw fireflies for the first time, because we don't have those in Scotland. And afterwards, my date was my friend Cameron, and she took me on the back of her motorbike all the way from Central Park to the East Village, and I was high as a kite. It was amazing. And then I went back to London where I was living, and London seemed so drab and dull and boring after all the excitement and exuberance of New York. And I actually have this visual representation about the difference between living in New York and the difference between living in London. Here's living in London. Here's living in New York. And when you've had this gets really old. So I went back to London and I just said to myself, Is that all that is? Is that all that is? If that's all there is, my friends, then let's keep dancing. Let's break out the booze and have a ball. If that's all that is. And I've been all over the world, you know, traveling and making films and doing press tours, whatever. And I've been to Montevideo. Alas, not the place in Uruguay, but the tiny village in the middle of fucking nowhere in Minnesota. And I went there to make a film that I'm actually really proud of. It's called Sweet Land. And in it, I play a 1920s Minnesotan farmer. For reals. And every day in that little village, I would open the curtains of my hotel room. I'd look out and I would see a Dairy Queen, a Burger King, and a McDonald's. And I knew if I did not get my shit together by 6 o'clock that night, I was going to have to eat in one of those establishments. And I just said to myself, is that all that is? Is that all that is? If that's all that is, my friends, then let's keep dancing. Let's break out the booze and have a ball. If that's all that is. And then one time I was back home in Scotland. I was at my mum's house. We're having our tea. That means dinner. And the news was on, and there was this report about a crime that had been committed during the 2012 Olympics. And what had happened was this crazy person had tried to storm the track right before Usain Bolt won the 100 meters Olympic sprint. And he had a thing against Usain Bolt. He threw a bottle at him, and he started shouting at him and saying it was a cheat and other horrible things. And luckily, there was this Dutch woman judo Olympian there who tackled this crazy person to the ground. What would we do without the lesbians? Anyway, and he was arrested, this crazy person, and as he's been taken away, the crazy man went, "You can't arrest me. I'm the actor Alan Cumming." And I told one of my friends about this, and he went, "Well, you know you're really famous now, Alan, when crazy people pretend to be you." And I just thought to myself, is that all there is to fame? Is that all that is? Is that all that is? If that's all that is, my friends, let's break out the... Oh, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Shut up, Alan. We pay good money for this. If you really feel like that, why don't you just end it all? But I'm not going to do that. But when I do, I hope I do it in the manner of the Russian playwright Anton Chekhov. Because when he was dying, he was in a sanatorium in Switzerland. The time was about to come, and he just went, "May I have a glass of champagne, please?" They brought him a glass of champagne. He downed it in one and dropped down dead. That's how you fucking die. So when my time comes and I'm on my knees, my breath is smelling of champagne, the lights are going out everywhere apart from that one light at the end of the tunnel. It's a bit like when you go under for a colonoscopy. I know I am still going to be saying, is that all that is? Is that all that is? If that's all that is, my friends, then let's keep dancing. Let's break out the booze and have a ball. If that's all there. Schubert and Peggy Lee together at last. Thank you very much. Quite a few of the songs I'm going to be singing for you tonight are about aging. And that's understandable. You know, I am a 53-year-old man. I know, it's hard to believe. I know. But, you know, aging is something we all share. Everyone says, death and taxes are the only two sure things in life, but I think we should add aging to that. And also the fact that our president will stoop to even lower levels of moral degradation than we thought fucking humanly possible. But it's nice that some things in life are sure. Anyway, so aging for me took on this whole new realm a wee while ago when I went to visit my dermatologist. And so I go to my dermatologist quite a lot because, as you can see, I'm quite pale and be careful in the sun. I'm Scottish, and as my countryman Billy Connolly said, Scottish people's natural skin tone is blue. So I go a lot, and I have this thing called a mole map done, because I've got a lot of moles, and so he checks them and sees nothing's moved or changed or anything bad happened. And so I was having a little check myself before I went to see my dermatologist one time, and I was having a little check also downstairs, because I support this organisation in Scotland called Cojones Scotland, and what it does, their catchphrase, their mantra is check your balls. And what they do is they try to encourage men to check their balls, and this is the way that women, check their boobs for lumpy bits. Men should do that too, so they can, stop early any testicular cancer. It's a very sensible thing to do. So, boys, if you have not done that before, I suggest you, go home and do that. Wait till the end of the show, but then go home and check your balls and keep checking, and get someone else to. So I was checking my balls, and I saw on one of my balls these two little red dots. It was as though someone had taken a red Sharpie and gone boop, boop on one of my balls. And someone may well have done that and I hadn't noticed. The circles I move in. But it was a little alarming, and because it wouldn't rub off like a Sharpie would. And so I went to my dermatologist, and I was like, oh, is this, I'm a bit worried, is that? He went, Alan, absolutely fine. Nothing to worry about. That is just a normal part of scrotal aging. That's the thing. So when I picked myself off the floor, I realised that I had inadvertently been thinking about scrotal aging for some time. Inadvertently, because I didn't know it was a term, but I was making this film ages ago in Rome, and Jessica Lange was in it, and we were chatting between takes, blah, 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 and she was saying, her boobs were sagging a wee bit. I was like, well, my balls have gone south, let me tell you. And she went, I wonder if there's such a thing as a ball tuck. I was like, there should be. And then a few years before that, I was in Budapest making a film, and I went to the Gellert baths, these Roman baths in the middle of Budapest. Absolutely gorgeous. It's like going into a Roman temple with all these frescoes, and you go down all these steps in sort of like a ballroom, but it's flooded with all this lovely warm water. It's really magical. Everyone goes there, all the burghers of Budapest, all ages, all genders. It's a bit like Club Cumming in that way. It's just wetter. Although Mariano gets going on a Saturday night. Anyway, so I had this lovely time, just communing with nature in the bath. And I went into the showers afterwards. It's all this open plan, big Roman tiles over. And the guy next to me, admittedly, he was a very old man, but I will never unsee this. His balls were at his knees. It was a game changer for me. I was in my early 30s then. I wasn't wearing underwear. I just thought, I'll let everything flop around, 80, la, la, la. You've never seen someone buy a jockstrap faster. And in Budapest, that is a shopping challenge. Anyway, so another time I was back to Rome with Jessica. So there's another scene we're doing where I'm we're married in the film. We're having a post-coital scene. And I'm lying on top of her, and one of my hands on her boob like this. I'm asleep, and she's listening to something. And in between takes again, we're chatting. I go, Jess, I don't know what you're talking about. You have fantastic tits. And she went, honey, if your hand wasn't there, that thing would be halfway around my back. Anyway, so back to my dermatologist. So every time I go to him, we always have a laugh about the fact he said the thing, blah, blah. So I was there a few weeks ago, and I said, remember that time? He was, oh yes, when I told you had advanced scrotal aging. I was like, advanced? Do I have advanced scrotal aging? You didn't say that. I don't. It was just an error. Anyway, he told me about this new thing he'd been asked to do for the first time. It was a procedure that one of his patients asked him to do. And what it was is this guy wanted to get Botox injected into his balls. And you know, we've done a show already. This last 2 weeks we've been doing a show here at midnight, and earlier a show at. Are you offended by my testicles? Are you going to check? He's going to check his balls, ladies and gentlemen. Applause. Bravo. Bravo. It's an example to be set. So when we do an 8:45 show at the Cafe Carlisle uptown, because I'm a downtown boy living in an uptown world, and so I'm having that experience on a nightly basis too. So when I tell the story about the man getting Botox injected into his balls at the Cafe Carlisle, there's this gasp of horror by all these ladies whose face hasn't moved since 2002. And I'm like, no, you cannot, no. You don't get to gasp at that, lady. That's hypocrisy right there. Anyway, I said, why does he want to do that? Why does he want to do it? And my dermatologist said, well, you know, Botox makes you relaxes your muscles. So what he wants is his balls to relax, so his balls will dangle lower and be more kind of like, you know, daddy, bullish, kind of big balls. And I was like, just tell him to wait a couple of years. It'll happen. And it'll be free. Anyway, the best part of all is that procedure is called Scrotox. Thank you, yes. It actually is. So, in that vein, thank you. I'll be here all night. I want to sing you a song by a really great woman, an English woman called Victoria Wood. And she was this amazing singer-songwriter, playwright, performer, screenwriter, just a genius. Huge, huge inspiration to me when I was growing up, and always so kind to me in the interactions we had. She died a couple of years ago to cancer. So this is for her. Time plays tricks on one and all. Our ends are split, our bosoms fall. Well, this is, after all, what we find. Time and tide, let's not forget, will kill you off or get you wet. This is it. This is life. Never mind. But some girls don't know when they're beaten. They battle like old King Canute to give every wrinkle, each crow's foot and crinkle the boot. You swim for health, you splash about. The chlorine makes your hair fall out. Serves you right. This is it, what we find. You rub your necks before we sleep with lotion that's made from the foreskin of sheep. Are you mad? Is this wise? Is it kind? Be like the old girls down the wine bar, all halter necks, hairspray and gin. Red lipstick and dentures, they still have adventures. Join in. You try sex with a younger man. He's never heard of Duran Duran. What a blow, what a drag, what we find. As time moves on, it leaves its clues. The homeless are wearing platform shoes. Time's winged bus is just one stop behind. Oh, please give up this painful fight against grey hair and cellulite. Please enjoy what you are. Ask me how. Live for now. Live for now. Live for now. Thank you very much. How'd it go? Everything okay? Everything okay with the testicles? Fabulous. See? A successful checking of the boys has occurred. So, as I said, I'm going to be singing quite a lot of songs by really great, strong women. And I'm really fascinated, actually, by the way that men are intimidated by strong women. And, you know, it's been a really interesting time in our culture of late, concerning sort of men-women relationships. Like,
the whole Me Too and Time's Up movement, I've been so impressed by all these incredible women who've had the courage to come forward and talk about their stories and absolutely change the landscape of how we think about each other. It's incredible. But also, it's a really great opportunity for us men, because the playing field is leveled now. And we have to not only, obviously, reassess how we think about our behavior towards women, but also about how we think about how we condone other men's behavior towards women. So now is the time, boys, to grab our balls and just say how much we admire the goddesses among us that are women. I think we could cheer more for that. Women! Women! We came out of their vaginas, remember? Anyway, I'm also really fascinated by the way that men are intimidated by tall women. And I myself know a bit about that because many years ago I used to go out with a very tall woman. And it was really interesting when we go out because, she was much taller than me and absolutely gorgeous. All these alpha male guys would kind of bustle up to me and get all chesty with me and say things like, "What does it feel like that you're so much shorter than your girlfriend?" And I would go, "Oh, well, it's all the same when you're lying down." I mean, there's some crawling involved, but I've got the hang of it. Thank you. And also, it'd be funny, like when we go to events, I would, I feel I'm quite an evolved man, but no, apparently not. Like when we go to events, parties or something where there's going to be press there, we'd arrive and I would stand on the sidewalk and I'd shove her into the gutter so she would be like a little less tall than she was. Oh well. We broke up. Also, I remember when Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise split up. I saw Nicole on a talk show, and I remember this distinctly. She went, "Well, at least I can wear high heels again." And I remember I was fascinated by that because I thought, I wonder if that was in their prenup. I wonder if she had to negotiate the number of inches she was allowed, Ooh, well, either way, I hope she was satisfied. And also in politics, it's very interesting. Most of the presidents of this country, all of them, have been very, very tall men. And I can understand it, we want imposing people to be our leaders. But I was thinking about this, had Hillary Clinton been a very tall woman, maybe she would have got more votes than Donald Trump. Well, she got 3 million more votes than Donald Trump, but maybe she would be the president of the United States today. And talking in politics, Gore Vidal once famously said that politics is show business for ugly people. And I knew Gore. I was kind of friends with him at the end of his life, and he was always fun to hang out with, but things like that, he said, I always thought, that's so mean. It's not easy, it's witty, but his wit was always very edged with meanness, and I didn't like that. And I remember reading for the first time that comment, I thought, oh, God. But now I think, you fucking nailed it, mister. Anyway, back to my tall ex-girlfriend. So we're still very close, and she's a mother now, and when she had her baby, I went to visit her just after the baby was born in LA, and it was really cute. We were both lying on the bed, this little baby, and she's a sort of anxious newborn mum, and she had a little notebook, and she says things like, "Did he poop?" I went, "Oh yeah, he pooped." She was like, "Write it down." I was like, 323, he pooped. She's like, "What colour?" I was like, "Kind of green." And then, "I'm going to give him 2 ounces of the left breast." I was like, "Oh, 2 ounces of the left breast." And she goes, Did he burp?" I went, "No, he pukes a little. He pukes a little." So I was doing this sort of diary of puke and poop. And then at one point she said to me, "I'm getting a little bit tired." I went, "Oh, should I go?" She goes, No, I'm just going to take a placenta pill." I was like, "What?" So she showed me this thing. It was a little capsule like this. And for all the world, to me, it looked like a Molly or an ecstasy or a party favour. And first, I should just say, I have no judgments about eating your placenta. I think it's a really great idea. All the animals in the animal kingdom do it, and it's been proven to be really good, for postnatal depression and everything. So anyway, that's blah, blah. So back to this. I was like, "How did your placenta get into this wee capsule?" And she went, "Oh, well, after the baby was born, our doula took home the placenta in a bucket and had it dried." I was like, wait a minute. So, Los Angeles is a very hilly place, all those canyons. I had this vision of this poor doula driving away from Cedar Sinai with this bucket seat belted in like this, with this placenta slopping over the edge every time she turned a corner up Laurel Canyon. Anyway, so she said she was going to take one because it made her feel more energized, which makes sense. And she says, I'm going to take one. I was like, okay. She goes, would you like one? I went, okay. So I took one, right? And because of my sort of what do you call it, Pavlovian response to what I thought it reminded me of, I thought that, I was expecting in like half an hour I'm going to have a fabulous bowel movement, then dance my tits off for 6 hours. But it didn't happen. All that happened was after a few minutes I went, oh my God. And she went, what? And I went, that's so off my vegan diet. So, the only time in about the last 10 years that I have knowingly not eaten vegan is when I ate my former fiance's placenta. Thank you! On the corner of the street stands a girl. She waits for her lover. She is only 17, never been in love with another. He is half an hour late, but she waits, for she loves him so, can't let go. But all the time she's aware, people stare. Time goes so slowly when you're young. Time hangs so heavy. Don't wish time away now before your time has begun. You're still young. After work a woman runs for the bus. Her children are waiting. She was serving in a shop, couldn't stop anticipating. But her children want to play, and they say, oh, just let us be. And she sees that their childhood is already gone. They've moved on. Time goes so quickly when they're young. Time steals them from you. Don't you? When the children were there, you had no time to spare. Not like now. There's a quiet man who waits, never states his reasons for living. Never wanted to impose till he never chose to stop giving. But he doesn't see the TV. He waits for his son, the only one. But his son, he doesn't come, he's having fun. Having fun. Time goes so slowly when you're old. You live in the past. You can turn back the clock, but time still rushes on. Time moves on. Time moves on. Time moves on. When you're young, feeling oh so strong, what can prove you wrong? Love and love alone. When the sun seems forever bright, what can dim its light? Love and love alone. So beware, young love, lost in your kiss. There's a truth, young love, simple as this. Every fun to love ends in goodbye. What you're certain will live will die. So enjoy all the time there is. If you're his, be his.
day your own. When tomorrow comes and your heart is stone, what has made it numb? Love and love alone. Love and love alone. Thanks so much. So that was two songs. First of all, the first one was called Time by a woman called Dilly Keane. She's English of Irish descent, and she gets a visa when she comes here to perform. And she's part of an amazing three-woman cabaret act called Fascinating Aida, who played here, I think. And the second one was from the musical The Visit. And yes, and it was written by two titans of the American musical theatre. They also wrote Cabaret, which I've heard of, Chicago, Kiss of the Spider Woman, so many more. And they are two great Jewish Americans. Candle and Air, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I've been bashing on a lot tonight about being, an American citizen, and I am very happy to be one, but I have two passports. I have my American passport, and I also still have a European Union passport. I'm a joint citizen. And so, and I'm always going to be Scottish first, Scotland's where I'm from. It's where I grew up. I didn't even come to America until I was 30, and I feel like the history and tradition of Scotland is all kind of ground up and in the marrow of my bones. And Scotland's been so kind to me. I would not be standing on the stage tonight if I was not Scottish, because I went to a drama school, a conservatoire in Scotland. And had I been born in America, my mum and dad would never in a million years have been able to afford to send me to a similar institution in this country. But they were able to do that because further education in Scotland is free, as is healthcare. And we don't pay more taxes than we pay here. We just have different values. And we don't spend ludicrous amounts on defense. So I was able to, I'm standing here because of that. And afterwards, after I graduated, I then cut my teeth as a baby actor in the sort of subsidised theatres of Scotland, repertory theatres funded by the Scottish Government. So I stand before you tonight, a product of the generosity and the values of the Scottish taxpayers. And Scotland has continued to be so lovely to me. A few years ago, my portrait was unveiled at the Scottish National Portrait Gallery. It's the hugest honour of my life. It really is. And I went to the unveiling, and it was unveiled in this huge, the big grand hall of the National Portrait Gallery. And there's like a big, huge statue of Robert Burns, our national poet, and Sir Walter Scott. And there's these big stained glass windows with all these pictures and things of all these explorers and great inventors invented all these things around the world who are Scottish. And then there's me. And what was the best part of all was they took down a portrait of the Queen to put my portrait up. So insert Queen jokes where you like, it's fine. And then a few years before that, I was a juror at the Edinburgh International Film Festival, and I was invited to this dinner at Bute House. Now, Bute House is the home of the First Minister of Scotland. And Scotland doesn't have independence yet, but it has its own parliament, has some devolved issues that it can decide on in its own parliament. So there's a First Minister of Scotland, and his name then was, well, it's still his name, but he was then Alex Salmond, and he was the head of the Scottish National Party. And the Scottish National Party is still in power, but now it's run by this amazing woman called Nicola Sturgeon. Yes, and I don't know if you know this, but what's happening in Scottish politics right now, because there's a few things going on here that might have taken your attention. You might not have been up on the minutiae of Scottish politics, but let me inform you. So, the Brexit debacle is happening. Well, there's these powers that the European Union has, deals with the Scottish Parliament about, devolved powers. Now, Theresa May in Westminster, Prime Minister, is trying to do this power grab to take those powers back
to Westminster once Brexit happens. So that is entirely unconstitutional, utterly, and it just trounces over the Scottish Parliament and the wishes and the democracy of Scotland. So, fuck her. But also, Nicola Sturgeon, our leader right now, she is a lioness, and we are our lucky cubs. So I'm hopeful that everything's going to be okay. But so then it was Alex Salmond. I'm sitting at this dinner opposite the leader of my country, talking politics. I'm sitting next to the king of my country, Sean Connery. Because he is the king. And, I once said to him, "You're the king of Scotland, Sean." And he goes, "Well, what does that make you?" And I said, "I'm a mere prince." And so one time he called me up. I wrote this book about my childhood, and he read it and had this really incredible emotional reaction to it because he had a similar upbringing, I realised. And he left this beautiful message on my voicemail. Oops, getting a bit emotional. And at the end of it, he said, "Okay, good night, sweet prince." So I'm sitting opposite the leader of my country. I'm sitting next to Sean. My husband, Grant, and Micheline, Sean's wife, are sitting next to Alec, and they're both artists. They're gabbing away. And we're having this really great conversation about politics, and we're drinking up the wazoo. Now, Sean is a lifelong Scottish National Party supporter and a big advocate of independence. And that day, the Labour Party was still in power in London at the time. And that day, there'd been this paper released by the Labour Party about, the next stages of Scottish devolution and stuff. And so we're talking about that. And at one point, I was like, drinking. I went, "Sean, so what do you think about the Labour Party? Do you support the Labour Party plan to blah, blah, blah?" And before I could finish the sentence, he went, Labour? I will never vote Labour as long as there's a hole in my arse." So this one's for Sean. I don't know if you can see the changes that have come over me in these past few days. I've been afraid that I might drift away. So I've been telling old stories, singing old songs that make me think about where I come from. That's the reason why I seem so far away today. Let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, and now I'm going home. But if I should become a stranger, know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia has been everything I've ever had. I have moved, and I'll keep on moving. Proved the points I needed proving. Lost the friends that I needed losing. Found others on the way. I have tried, and I'll keep on trying. Stolen dreams, there's no denying. Traveled hard sometimes with conscience flying. Somewhere on the wind. But let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me, and now I'm going home. But if I should become a stranger, know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia has been everything I've ever had. Let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me. Now I'm going Thanks so much. Eleanor Norton on the cello. Brady Mulherker on the trumpet. Chris Jago on the guitar. And Lance Horn on everything and everyone else. Oh, I need a drink. I need a drink after that. Can we have a drink? And water. Here's the lovely Michael, as if we've rehearsed this. Say hello to Michael. Please thank all your lovely waiters and bar staff at Joe's Pub tonight, ladies and gentlemen. There's been a real sort of revolt in my band this week. Everyone started as hardened drinkers, and now they're drinking fucking rosé champagne. Cheers. Gosh, that was hard. Thanks so much. Over-sentimentality and drinking are the two favourite pastimes in Scotland, and so I'm representing both of those this evening in spades. Cheers, everybody, cheers. To Scotland, to the homeland, to Caledonia, Alga Bagrach, Slange. Are we still doing this? You got enough? You got everything? Thank you, Michael, the lovely Michael. Please tip your staff generously, ladies and gentlemen. Tipping is not a city in Berlin. I mean, in China. Oh, I fucked that up.
Either.
Tipping is not a city in China.
We'll fix it tomorrow.
Get it?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was a song that was written by this man called Dougie McLean, and he lives in Scotland, really near where I was born, actually. I was born in this little town called Aberfeldy in Perthshire, which is right in the middle of Scotland. And about 10 years ago, these people from Aberfeldy, because I was only born there, I didn't stay there, it was just a convenient place to be born. And I lived elsewhere. But 10 years ago, these people came up to me and said, they were trying to revitalize the area, and there was this abandoned cinema called the Birks Cinema, which means birch trees in Scotland, and they were trying to get it reopened and just kind of revive the little town. So they asked me, as a local boy made good, if I would be the patron of the campaign. So I said, of course. So I wrote some letters to people and tried to get money and gave some money and blah blah blah. And a couple of years went by and nothing really was happening. And I remember thinking, those crazy fuckers are never going to get this cinema reopened. But they did. And they got some money from a local distillery, some private donors, and eventually the Scottish government kicked in for the last bit. And so 5 years ago, I went back with my mum to Aberfeldy. Can you imagine the emotional torpor she was going through? The last time she was there, I came out of her vagina. And now she's with me and I'm opening a fucking cinema. And I opened officially the Birks Cinema once more, because it had been open in the 30s and it had just been this great centre, but it's anyway, blah blah. It was abandoned now. So, and it has really been an incredible thing for this community, because now people don't have to travel 40 miles to see a movie, and there's all these sort of clubs and societies meet there, and there's a little cafe and a bar, and parents bring their kids and have a plague thing, and it's really a great thing to be reminded of and to understand how important it is and to remind people in America of how the arts can revitalize communities. So I grew up about an hour east of that, on the East Coast. Not actually on the water, but I could see the coast from my house. And I've written a lot about I wrote a book about my childhood. I mentioned it earlier. My childhood was really awful. My dad was this very violent, abusive, an insane person. And so my whole childhood was spent just wanting to get away. Just wanted to get away out of this. I didn't feel part of the world I was in, and I just wanted to escape it. And I wanted to get to a place where I would feel understood and safe. And also I grew up in this totally freezing, rattly old Scottish stone house. It was awful, and that didn't help either. And when I was a little boy, I used to, be doing my homework, and I would look out of the window, and I would see the line where the sky meets the sea, and it called me, and no one knows how far it goes. If the wind in my sail on the sea stays behind me, one day I'll know. I've been staring at the edge of the water as long as I can remember, never really knowing why. I wish I could be the perfect daughter, but I come back to the water no matter how hard I try. Every turn I take, every trail I track, every path I make, every road leads back to the place I know where I cannot go, but I long to be. See the line where the sky meets the sea, it calls me, and no one knows how far it goes. If the wind in my sail on the sea stays behind me, someday I'll know. And if I go, there's just no telling how far I'll go. I know everybody on this island seems so happy on this island. Everything's by design. I know everybody on this island has a role on this island, so maybe I can roll with mine. I can lead with pride, I can make us strong. They'll be satisfied if I play along, but the voice inside sings a different song. Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun, wandering free, wish I could be part of that world. What would I give if I could live out of these waters? What would I pay to spend a day warm on the sand? Bet you on land they'd understand, bet they don't reprimand their daughters. Bright young women, sick of swimming, ready to start, and ready to know what the people know. Ask them some questions and get some answers. What's a fire and why does it, what's the word again? Mariano! When's it my turn? Wouldn't I love to explore that shore up above? See the line where the sky meets the sea, it calls me, and no one knows how far it goes out of the sea. Wish I could be. The cold never bothered me anyway. Thank you. Yes. So there we heard from, first of all, Puerto Rican American Lin-Manuel Miranda, then two Jewish Americans, Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, then a Filipino American, Robert Lopez, and then Kristen Anderson Lopez, just an American. So if you thought that a 53-year-old man making an allusion to his upbringing in rural Scotland via a series of Disney princess songs was the gayest thing you've ever heard, I raise you. Because I had my 50th birthday party at Typhoon Lagoon in Disney World, ladies and gentlemen. I did. Now, for those of you who don't know, Typhoon Lagoon is the water park at Disney World. It normally holds 20,000 people. We had 225. And it was absolutely fucking fantastic. Because like we're all running around in our swimming trunks. We had like bars and food and DJ and everything. It was just magical. Because you'd pass these signs when you were going up to get on a ride. And the sign would say, 1 hour wait from now on. We're like, And then like there was one of the rides that was so fast and scary that everybody got a wedgie when they came down, every single person. And when I realised that, I just stood there with my cocktail and I just watched all my agents and managers and publicists getting a wedgie, and it gave me so much pleasure. I don't know why. And also, there was a lot of organisation went into it. You know, the Disney Corporation are very, I mean, they would say diligent about protecting their image. I would say anal. And it's really a big deal to kind of close down a water park at Disney World and have a party. And they were, you know, rightly concerned about some of the safety things and all this stuff. So there was all these meetings and blah, 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 and endless things. And, you know, blah, blah. You want to have Mickey and Minnie, that costs this much. You want Tigger, oh, it's another blah, blah. Things like that. And then also there were some things like, because the whole thing is fake. Like, it's not a real beach. You're on a beach, it's sand, but it's not a real beach. And you walk into the water and it's concrete underneath you because it's not real. And of course, the great thing is that you can control I could control the waves. I could control the speed and the frequency of the wave and the height of the waves. I felt crazed with power. And in some of these meetings, they said things like, you know, you have to have X number of lifeguards, and I could like choose the lifeguards from pictures. And so I had all these hunky lifeguards. There's all they're sort of stationed everywhere. And I realised it was because they were worried that, you know, my friends were all going to get drunk and vomit and be choking their own vomit in the sea, in the fake sea, or like have sex in the bushes, which some of them did, Jimmy Wilson. So anyway, I'll just tell that story. So like, the other night I told I said some people did have sex in the bushes because there's been this mystery about who had sex in the bushes at my 50th birthday party. And so the other night I said, chatting at the Cafe Carlisle show, and this man from Disney after the next song sort of piped up and went, Alan, hey, I'm Brian from the Disney Corporation. We helped organize your party. I'm like, oh, well, nice to talk to you in the middle of my show. But, and I said, oh, right, sorry about the anal comment, but have you found out? I bet you're still wondering who had sex in the bushes. And he went, well, we always assumed it was Jimmy. Jimmy is here, and Jimmy was my assistant that night. And I say this. I say, bravo, Jimmy! Nice one. Anyway, so we had to have all these not bodyguards, lifeguards. And at one point they said to me in one of the meetings, would you like to have a surfing demonstration? I was like, oh, what? And they went, well, you know, the hunky lifeguards, they do this other thing where this is sort of a show where they change the waves and everything, you can control the waves. And these hunky boys come on their swimming trunks and do the surfing demonstration. There's lights and music and everything. And they all do this show and they come towards you and you're waiting at the end of the beach to receive them. I was like, listen to me right now, lady. I do not want, on my 50th fucking birthday, an array of 22-year-olds with abs of steel and zero body fat surfing towards me in my swimming trunks with my scrotal aging. That does not seem to me like the happiest place on fucking earth. Thank you. Everybody loves the things you do, from the way you talk to the way you move. Everybody here is looking at you, 'cause you feel like home. You're a dream come true. And if by chance you're here alone, could I have a moment before I go? I've been standing all night on my own, hoping you're someone I used to know. You look like a movie, you sound like a song. My God, this reminds me of when we were young. Let me photograph you in this light, in case it is the last time that we might be exactly like we were before we realized we were sad and growing old. It made us so restless. It was just like a movie. It was just like a song. I was so scared to face my fears. Nobody told me that you'd be here. And I swear you'd moved overseas. At least that's what you said when you left me. You still look like a movie. You still sound like a song. My God, this reminds me of when we were young. Let me photograph you in this light, in case it is the last time that we might be exactly like we were before we realized we were sad and growing old. It made us so restless. It was just like a movie. It was just like a song. Oh, it's so hard to feel this lack when everything just takes me back to when you were there, to when you were there. And part of me keeps holding on, just in case you haven't gone. I guess I still care. Do you still care? You look like a movie. You sound like a song. My God, this reminds me of when we were young. Let me photograph you in this light, in case it is the last time that we might be exactly like we were before we realized we were sad and growing old. It made us so restless. Oh, I'm so mad and growing old. It makes me so reckless. It was just like a movie. It was just like a song. Le ciel bleu sur nos... Oh, let's start again with the lights on, shall we? Le ciel bleu sur nos Pacific... Oh, I've done the wrong words wrong now. One more time. Le ciel bleu sur nos peut s'enfondrer et la terre peut bien s'écrouler. Peu n'importe si tu m'aimes, je me fous du monde entier. Tant que l'amour inondera mes matins, que mon corps frémira sous tes mains. Peu n'importe les grands problèmes, Dieu réunit jusqu'au bout du monde, je me ferai éteindre blonde si tu me le demandais. On peut bien rire de moi, je ferai n'importe quoi si tu me le demandais. Shall I catch a falling star? Shall I bring it where you are? If you ask me to, I will. I'll do anything you ask, I'll perform you any task. If you'd only love me still. Nous avons pour nous l'éternité dans le bleu de toute l'immensité. Dans le ciel, plus de problèmes. Je m'en fous du monde entier. When at last my time on earth is through, I'll spend all eternity with you. If you love me, really love me, only for you I'll sing a hymn to love. If you love me, really love me, only for you I'll sing this hymn to Thank you so much. So that was two more songs by great women. First of all, a song made famous by Adele, who is English but gets a visa when she comes to perform here. And the second, she wrote that with a Canadian American. And then the second song was by Edith Piaf, who was French, also got a visa. And she wrote that song with another French woman called Margot Monet. So we're coming up to the last song of the evening. Oh, come on, it's not really the last song. I mean, how many fucking shows have you been to and the person says it's the last song and it is really the last song? Won't be another song, right? But just fake it with me. Anyway, so I wanted to tell you that the reason I have been talking about the provenance of all the band, myself, and the immigration status of all the composers and people who made these songs I've sung tonight famous, I've been doing that for a reason, and that is because I wanted tonight to be a celebration of immigration. Because in the last 10 years, since I became a citizen of this country, I have noticed a huge sea change in the attitudes towards being an immigrant. There's such negativity around it. And I called this show Legal Immigrant because I wanted to point out that it doesn't really matter anymore what the prefix is before the word immigrant. This immigration itself has got such a bad reputation, has been clouded with such negativity. And the reason I sort of wanted to do this show was because a few months ago, I read in the newspaper that the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services removed the phrase Nation of Immigrants from their official website. That is historical revisionism happening right now. They're rewriting our history. Now, I can understand that this administration does not want to make America a nation of immigrants moving forward. They're making that pretty clear. But they cannot deny our present, and they certainly cannot deny our past. This nation was built by immigrants. I hope I've shown tonight that immigrants have given us so much culture and beauty and music over the years. But and it's also kind of ironic and hypocritical and just fucking stupid to think that way, to think that immigration is a negative thing and we want to be rid of it. Because we are all immigrants. Unless you're Native American, or African American, because I don't consider being brought here in chains an immigration choice, then you are an immigrant or you're descended from one. The first people to come to this country who were not Native Americans were Spanish-speaking people, something that must piss Donald Trump off so fucking much. But, you know, Christopher Columbus, he was Spanish. He wasn't French like Gerard Depardieu in the film. He came here, and shortly after that, at the end of the 15th century, he made some settlements in Florida. After that, the next people who came to this country were French. It wasn't until the early 1600s that English people came to this land. And they came here because they thought that the English religious system wasn't extreme enough for them. So I guess we have them to thank for, you know, the Tea Party, the Rapture, and Mike Pence. So hurrah! Slightly gagging on my drink for that. So 400 years, that's all the time that English-speaking people have lived in these lands. In the course of history, that's nothing. That's, from the part of the world I'm from, that's like a potato famine. It's like an elongated skirmish. And also, I have noticed in the last 10 years this massive change in the sensibility around immigration. I felt it. I felt intimidated at times by it. And I'm a white man. I can't imagine what it must be like to be a person of color, a woman of color, a trans person of color, or a Muslim. And also, it's so ridiculous because xenophobia, bigotry, racism is being condoned because of this idea that's been peddled that somehow immigrants are going to come here and take over. Well, guess what? They already fucking have. And also, and some of the highest offices in this country right now are housed by immigrants. The First Lady of the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen, is an immigrant. Melania is from Slovenia. That's where she also got her non-existent architectural degree. She became a citizen 2 years before me. And I would just like to say right now, like, you know, until quite recently, I was kind of like, I felt sorry for Melania. I thought, you know, she didn't buy into this. All she thought was she was going to have to, like, blow that fucking Cheeto lump a couple of times a year. And she'd have a nice life. And then all of a sudden, she's the fucking First Lady of the United States of America. But you know what? After that coat, and she went to see those children who were wrenched from their parents' arms wearing that fucking coat. Fuck you, Melania. What a disgrace you are to this country. And then also, the other ironic thing is that Donald Trump himself is the son of an immigrant. I'm ashamed to tell you, his mother was Scottish. She's from the island of Harris. So he is the son of an immigrant. He's married to an immigrant. He's married to several immigrants. And so what is it in his mind that has made him have this huge sea change and try to encourage the country to have this huge sea change against the very notion of immigration? Well, it's fucking racism and white supremacism. That's what it is. But I believe that no matter, however you came to this country, if you came here as a legal immigrant, if you came here because your parents brought you here, if you came here because you're fleeing tyranny or poverty, or if you were asked to come here to do the shitty fucking jobs that Americans don't want to do, then you deserve to be seen and heard in security and safety, and you deserve the right to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. I'm mad as hell. The thing that pains me so much is just that a country that is so rich in diversity is trying to pretend to itself that it isn't. So I'm going to end this show by singing a song by one of the most richly diverse Americans I know. Mr. Lance Horn, ladies and gentlemen. If this was my last day on earth, and I knew that tomorrow I'd leave this world forever, all of the things that I would have done, all of the races I would have run, faraway places I would have gone, wouldn't matter at all. What matters are the things you leave behind.
the echoes love can leave inside the mind, and the light that shines from random acts of kindness, kind of simple, kind of not. How life ripples from a thought, kind of frightening when you find that you've forgotten how to dream, how to fly, how to take a chance and bid it all goodbye. And I, for one, am going to try for all I'm worth, 'cause this could be my last day on earth. If this was my last day with you, our final hours after all we've done together, all of the things that I'd want to say, all of the secrets I'd stored away, all of the prayers that I tried to pray, wouldn't matter at all. What would matter are the things I've learned from you, and the rough and tumble way in which we grew, and the time it takes to love another truly true. It's blinding. True, it's blind. True, the heart is in control and not the mind. True, that time will take its toll just when you're finding ways to speak, ways to yearn, ways to say goodbye and hear it in return. And you and I have got a lot to learn before we're through, and this could be my last day with you. So close your eyes and take my hand. The sun will rise, and then who knows? You have to wait for what's in store. There's no anticipating how the story goes. So if this was your last day on earth, what would you do as your heart beats towards tomorrow? All of the wishes you could have made, all of the music you could have played, what would you do if you weren't afraid of the dream? Would you fly? Would you take a chance and bid your fears goodbye? Will you join us in our vow to try for all we're worth, to live each day as our last day? 'Cause this could be your last day. We've all been given the present of our past, so let us live like it's our last day on
I rather presumptuously prepared an encore. Before I sing it, I want to say thank you so much to everyone here at Joe's Pub, all our lovely wait staff, the bar staff, our fabulous crew, everyone backstage. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be here. And I want to tell you something as well, that there's a merch table outside, and there's all things like, T-shirts and blah, 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 and CDs and stuff, but there's also this, which is really good. And what it is it's a poem. And about a year ago, a poet from Massachusetts sent me this poem. And he's this guy called Steve Siddle. And it was on Burns Night. I mentioned Robert Burns earlier, he's the National Poet of Scotland. And on Burns Night, we have address the haggis, and we do poems, and we get drunk and everything. And it was on that day he sent me this. And what it is it's a poem in the style of Robert Burns that he's written, addressed to the United States, the President of the United States of America. And I would like to read it for you now. With my glasses. Thou eunuch of thought, thou New Yorker never across 110th Street, thou crackpot pitching nostrums of empirical nothing, thou homewrecker of hard-working families, thou monkey with drums hammering arrhythmic absurdities, thou butcher with unbloodied hands, thou pimp of liberty, thou antithesis of eloquence, thou slumlord of towering babble, thou quaffed confusion uglier than plugs, thou Homo Reclinus who has never known a hard day of work, thou peacock of unabashed ignorance, thou baleful omen of idiocracy, go fuck yourself. So the reason I do this is because this is at the merch table, and we very carefully and cleverly put it on a postcard addressed to the President of the United States of America. So you can buy this, put a stamp on it, and send a message to Donald Trump. But more importantly, it costs $20. It seems a lot, but the $20 goes directly to the ACLU, who need our support even more now, with all these poor kids trying to get back their parents. But sadly, a terrible thing happened last night. Since between last night and today, there was a box of merch that's kept downstairs, and someone, we don't know who, went into it and stole the $220 from the ACLU fund that we've been collecting. I know. So what I'd like to try and do, if we could have the house lights up, I've got some things. I'm going to have an auction to try and make that money up. And I've got a lot of things here. I've got, this is what you get. You get a signed copy of my last album, me. You get a signed copy of this CD of Shakespeare speeches I did. You get a signed copy of Lance's album. You get a signed copy of a bar of my soap, Cumming in a Bar, my favourite pun in my entire life. You get a signed fruit and nut bar that was in the dressing room. You get a signed Showtime phone charger. And you get a signed apple. And also you get one of these. It's a Alan Cumming Legal Immigrant t-shirt. Perfect for the 4th of July. It's me as the Statue of Liberty, ladies and gentlemen. So I think we should start. We're going to try and get $220 because that's the money we were... Ah! Well, we nailed it. Does anyone want to bid higher? 250? 275? Oh, 300 to hear to... 500. Shut up! Oh, that's good. So, that sounds so great. Is anyone going to go higher than 500? I think that's pretty great. Selling once, selling twice, selling... Who said that? Over to you, lovely lady. Whoa! Anyone else? I can't see. Is that 800? What? $800. Other people can join in, Other people can join in. We're at $800. Going once. Going twice. What? $1,000. How are you feeling about that? It's to her. Are you pointing to her? So to the lady for $1,000. Let's hear for this lovely lady. $1,000 going to the ACLU tonight because of her. Isn't that nice? We made a theft into a beautiful, positive thing. Thank you so much, Joe's Pub. That's the Joe's Pub I know. So I also want to thank, before we go, my absolutely darling. I also want to thank this man for staying awake mostly throughout the show. Yeah, no, because I feel there was a couple of times when your eyes were closed. Were you just listening to the music in a nice way? You have small eyes. They strangely look bigger now. Anyway, I got it. No. It was just that you were beautifully lit when you had your eyes closed, which is lovely for me as a performer. But anyway, I'm only kidding. ACLU is outside for, contributions. Thank you very much. Thank you all so much, but thank you mostly to these 4 people who've shared the stage with me. We've done 20 shows in 10 days. It was such a stupid fucking idea. It was my idea. It was a fun idea. It still is a fun idea. But it's not really humanly possible. But we did it! And we're kind of alive. So I want to thank all of them from the bottom of my heart. First of all, Riley Malherka, Chris Jago, Eleanor Norton, and the composer of that last beautiful song, Lance Horn. So, and thank you, all of you, so much. And thank you especially, that's such an amazing thing you've done tonight. You're helping so many people. So, I just want to say, I became an American citizen because I wanted to be a part of the American family. And recently, I've felt a bit like an orphan. But you know what? The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow till there's none. When I'm stuck with a day that's grey and lonely, I just stick out my chin and grin and say, the sun will come out tomorrow. So you gotta hang on till tomorrow, come what may. Tomorrow, I love you. Tomorrow, you're always a day away. Riley Malherka! When I'm stuck with a day that's grey and lonely, like this present political environment, I just stick out my chin and grin and resist. Oh, the sun will come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Come what may. Tomorrow, I love you. Tomorrow, you're always a day you good night.